Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for joining us today to discover what the 4 tactics are for B2B video ads that will actually convert. I'm Gina Guerrieri, Partner Success Manager over here at Rev Genius, and today I am joined by the incredible Kyle Weber, Associate Creative Director at Superside, which is a wonderful partner to work with. So we're going to leave some time at the end to answer all of your questions. So be sure to drop those in the chat or in the Q&A section, and we'll be answering them live with Kyle. And with that, Kyle, I'll let you go ahead and take over and introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thanks, Gina. And thank you for having me. Really excited to be here and to go through my little presentation. So without further ado. All right, we're all set. So as Gina mentioned, my name is Kyle Weber, and I'm the Associate Creative Director at Superside, where I invest most of my time into creating video ads. For those of you who don't know, Superside offers creative as a service and functions as an extension of your creative team, providing things like animation, video production, and other capabilities that most teams don't have in-house, along with providing that second line of creative support to tackle overflow work and surprise deadlines and that sort of thing. And prior to joining Superside, I was a senior account manager at your typical digital marketing agency. And I wanted to call that out because when it comes to video ads, I think it's crucial to balance creative strategy with marketing objectives. And if you over index on creative, your ads may be fun and flashy, but offer little in performance. Then, of course, when you lack that creative flair, your ads are going to go unnoticed. And that's never been more important than it is right now, when the average person is exposed to between 4,000 and 10,000 ads per day. Now, that probably seems impossibly high. And I imagine a lot of you right now are kind of retracing your steps, trying to think of all the ads that you've seen today, despite it being quite early, at least where I am. But I'll stop you there because there's a catch. Our brains are wired to subconsciously tune out distractions so we can focus on the task at hand. That's what keeps our eyes on the road instead of locking onto every billboard that we drive by. And without this filtering system, we'd be like dogs chasing cars and squirrels. And it's because of this subconscious filtering that only a small percentage of those 4 to 10,000 ads will actually make their way into your conscious brain, where they're registered and recognized, and hopefully for our sake as marketers, remembered. So for your ads to be successful, the first thing that you need to do is figure out a way to bypass this wiring to ensure that your ads are actually noticed. And today, I'm going to play through a bunch of ads that we've done at Superside that did a lot more than get noticed. I'll break down the keys to their success, and hopefully you'll be able to take what we've found and apply it to your own marketing so that your brand can get the type of feedback that we've been getting. And if you're more into numbers, the ads that I'm going to show you today collectively have generated over 2,850 book calls, over 8,500 form fills for events and downloads, along with over 16,000 shares on social media. And these numbers are attributed to about just 7 ads. And over the last year at Superside, we've been doing a lot. We put out between 3 to 4 video ads per month. And it's through our wins and through our losses and just the volume of work that we've done that we've come to recognize these 4 foundational tactics: considering ad placement, connecting with the person over the employee, grabbing and holding attention, and lastly, following the numbers. And before I get too far into this, I want to preface all this by saying that the ads that you're going to see today were completely done in-house. Everyone who shows up on camera is part of our marketing team, where they do something completely unrelated to ads, whether that be being part of the events team, the growth team, blogging. And that's worth mentioning because I think a lot of teams, when they think about video ads, they think it requires this massive budget and a massive dedicated team of specialists. But we've proven that that isn't the case. You can get really good results. You can get great results with a scrappy approach. So with that, let's dive in, starting with ad placement. So when it comes to social ads, one thing that I'm conscious of is the fact that no one goes on social media for the ads. And as brands, we're essentially crashing a party that we weren't invited to. So sticking with that metaphor, when I'm coming up with an ad, one of the first things that I think about is, what are people doing at the party? Are they dancing? If so, I need to turn up the music. If they're really going hard, I need to bring drinks. Wherever I'm advertising, I want to think about what people are doing there and align myself with that. Because if I show up to the party and immediately start forcing my agenda, no one's going to want me there and my ads are going to fail. So, for example, I can't bring a karaoke machine to a quiet dinner party and expect things to go my way. So, I'll show you this first ad, and then we can talk about what made it successful in regards to this strategy.
How do you professionally say, I won't be able to design your ads by tomorrow because it's 7 p.m. and guess what? I'm still at the office.
Is the deadline flexible? I'll need more time to deliver top quality work.
Is the deadline flexible? I'll need more time to deliver top quality work. Okay, how do you professionally say it's like a rectangle with some text, not the friggin' Mona Lisa?
For these designs, we need to prioritize speed over quality. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Don't need to reinvent the wheel? Do you have a death wish? Okay, well then how do you professionally say, if you had any
If you need quality creative done fast, try Superside.
Yeah, that's probably better.
So here what we did was we built on top of a concept that we found on TikTok and infused it with themes that were central to our audience. We shot this whole ad on an iPhone and we deliberately went for that lo-fi aesthetic to make it look more like a post that your friend might send you instead of looking like an ad. And as a result, this ad generated 650 book calls and 11,000 social shares and a ton of positive comments like the ones that you can see here. Now, what I described there might sound an awful lot like blending in, which seemingly runs counterintuitive to standing out, but stay with me. Your audience is on social media looking to be entertained and looking for something to send to their friends. And by making our ad look like native content, we align ourselves to the intention of our audience, meaning our ad doesn't get flagged as a distraction by that subconscious wiring that I was talking about. So to go back to that party metaphor, in this case, we're trying to look the part so we can get in the door. And we did that again with this ad that I'll show you. Once again, we aimed for that lo-fi aesthetic and played off an existing trend that was on Instagram and TikTok. And this one generated over 700 book calls and almost 4,000 social shares. Give me a second here. I'll just reduce the quality and maybe that'll help.
Week. And yay, my boss is already sending me Slack messages. Hashtag love my job. So I get into the office at 7:30 and then I realized that I totally forgot to tell the creative team about the landing pages, social graphics, and ads I need by Friday. So I go to my favorite crying spot, but then Brock finds me and says, I know a way you can get your ads designed on time. And then he shows me Superside. It's a creative subscription that can do all of this in as little as 24 hours. I submit my request in like 5 clicks and cry some more. Happy tears this time, because with Superside, I don't need to bother the creative team for every little thing, which is great because I'm pretty sure they hate me. And now this girl needs a green juice, kombucha, matcha, and another coffee. Bye.
So we got a lot of comments about how relatable this ad was. And that's really important because it proves to our audience that we really know what they go through. So Gina, we'll go to the next slide now. And that brings me to my next ad principle, connecting with the person behind the job title. And I think in B2B, most people have sort of seen the light that it's really business to person, but we still think of that person as an employee first, who's defined by their job title and responsibilities. So we'll go to the next slide. And when I think about my audience, I am considering who they are at work, but I try to focus more on who they are right after work, when they're venting to their partner about their day, or when they're meeting up with a couple of friends after work for dinner. That's what I need to tap into, because that's when my audience shows how they really feel. And that's what I need to connect with to show that I truly know their experience and understand what they go through. So on this next slide, we'll see another ad. So Jen, if you want to just hit play on that.
Good morning, design team. Hope I'm not intruding.
Of course not. What do you need?
Well, I'm launching a new campaign in 4 weeks and I need 5 ads. I sent you a brief with all the sizes and platforms. I invited you to a kickoff meeting on Friday, and I included some references for a little inspo. Not that you geniuses need it. I'll get out of your hair. Let me know if you need anything. Thanks.
No, he didn't forget anything. It's all so reasonable.
What is going on?
Yeah, I just sent them Superside's design dysfunctions guide.
It reveals how brands like Shopify are bridging the gaps between marketing and design and aligning their teams to do their best work. It's packed with
You
success
just pause it
stories,
there,
stats,
Gina.
surveys, and strategies that you can implement right.
So a group of designers, they're not going to go out after work and talk about a frictionless design system. They're going to talk shit about that jerk from marketing who sucks at briefing projects. And so as a marketer myself, that's what I need to be hitting on, because that's what's real. That's how they really feel. And the ad that you just saw, it was for one of our guides. I believe it was for ways to improve your ad design. And this ad generated over 5,000 downloads for that guide. And we can go to the next slide. So this comment here is maybe my favorite comment that we've ever received. I've never felt so seen. That's exactly how I want people to feel when they see our ads, because it proves to them that we know our customers on a totally different level. It shows that Superside is the brand that actually gets it. Go to the next slide. We're not the brand who's just pretending to relate by being superficial. And so moving on to the next slide. So what do you do if you don't know your audience on that sort of level? So if that's the case, and you can't talk to your customers to get to know them any deeper for whatever reason, what I try to do is try to find a pain point that I share with my audience, then speak to that pain point in a way that feels personal for me. So this strategy isn't all that different from how you might make a friend at an event, or become friends with a stranger. You'd find common ground, or you'd build off of a shared experience. And so with that, Gina, I'll ask you to just click play on this ad, which generated over 450 creative projects.
That was me last week, but now I'm here on a beach thanks to Superside's new offering. Vacation days for creatives.
With a Superside subscription, you get access to an always-on creative team, built to deliver all the creative marketing assets you could need in as little as 24 hours, giving you the free capacity to actually take vacation.
It's so right. Hot.
Then when the work is done, I get a notification from my Superside project manager and...
Are you seriously working right now? We're on vacation.
No.
As a creative, I never had time to take vacation. But with the support of my Superside team, I was finally able to see Europe. Merci, Superside.
Gracias, Superside.
Obrigado, Superside.
So we can go to the next slide now, Gina. So last year I had a ton of unused vacation days because it never felt like it was the right time for me to take time off. And that's where this idea came from. it was completely about me, but we recognized how our audience could very well find themselves in a similar position. And it's these sorts of pain points, like being under-resourced or being disorganized, that are almost universal. So they're perfect for building an authentic connection with your audience through kind of channeling your own experience. Go to the next slide. And so next, I'm going to talk about following the numbers. And by that, I mean using data to guide your creative explorations. Go to the next slide. And to start, I just want to play through a few seconds of the first ad that I was ever a part of at Superside. So Gina, if you could just click play on the ad to the left, and we'll just watch about 7 seconds.
Before launching your next ad campaign, you have to check out Superside's free guide to ad design. It's full of case studies from brands like Webflow and Outbrain, along with checklists and best practices for designing ads that work. Ads that will stand out on today's most competitive channels. Targeting, keywords, none of that matters if your ads aren't demanding the attention.
You can hit pause there, Gina. So as you can see, this ad is your typical sort of straightforward, like influencer style ad. It's pretty safe and it's kind of boring. Now this next ad, it was shot on the same day. It was also done for one of our guides. But we had this idea of opening the ad with just a couple of seconds of a designer and a marketer arguing with each other, because it was sort of central to the theme of this guide. So we opened with like a little bit of a skip before getting into the same sort of delivery as we had with this ad. So Gina, if you could just play the first couple seconds of the ad on the right, please.
Where's that landing page I asked for?
You asked for it like yesterday.
Yeah, because I needed it yesterday.
Well, I don't see a brief anywhere.
Oh, I'll show you a brief.
Whoa. Okay, if that's looking like your team, then you need to check out this free guide from Superside.
So we get into the same sort of thing as we had in the last ad. So while that change isn't anything crazy, the ad on the right absolutely destroyed all of the other ads that we had done for the guide that had this more basic sort of approach. So from there, we thought, hey, this skit open kind of worked, and we tried it again and again. And as the results got better with each and every ad, we extended that skit. Then we extended it more, and then we extended it more, to the point that now a lot of our ads are like 95% skit. And that's because that's where the results took us. It wasn't just a guess. So Gina, please go to the next slide. And when I talk to customers about the ads that we do, sometimes I'm met with this sense of like, we'd love to have fun with our ads and be creative, but we can't because we are not that brand. And I get it. That's totally fair. But we weren't that brand either. We didn't just start with the ads that we're doing right now. And what we do today is the product of every ad that came before and the little creative swings that did and didn't work. So when an ad performs, we ask ourselves, why? We look at the numbers, we look at the comments, and we try to assess what's working. And then we put out experiments in our next run of ads. And those experiments are what drive us forward. And like, we're not just out here having fun for the sake of having fun. We got to this style of ad by following the results. So on the next slide, I'll go deeper into our testing process. Each new ad that we produce gets put through a test campaign with a small audience, where each video in the campaign is given the same budget for equal opportunity. Then we put them up against the best ad from our more recent batch, which effectively acts as like the bar. And whatever new ads clear that bar or come close to hitting that bar, these ones sort of graduate to our main campaigns, whether that be our tofu campaign or our bofu campaign, which both contain our full audiences. And by using this sort of test, we can try out new things without much risk or investment. Then at the same time, by putting new ads up against our top performers, we're maintaining a standard where ads need to hit a certain level of production to get circulated with our full audience. And when an ad performs well, we think about the ways that it can be adapted and recycled to sort of fit with other campaigns. So, for example, this ad on the left was made to promote an online event that we held late last year about brands that are using AI and the ways that they're using AI. So, Gina, if you could just hit play on that ad to the left, please.
AI can already do all these amazing things in marketing and design, and I feel like I'm so far behind as it is. Can't eat, I can't sleep. I don't know what to do.
You don't need to worry about AI, but you do need to know how to use it. To get started, you should attend Superside's virtual summit. Prompt.
Join us December 5th to
So in just 2 months, this ad generated 3,500 leads. So instead of just coming up with a new ad and starting from scratch, we thought, how can we squeeze more juice out of this ad that's clearly hitting on something? And so we made some tweaks to the script and added a new closing animation to make it about Superside's own use of AI instead of promoting our AI event. And from there, we recently added this to our bottom funnel campaign, and so far it's generated almost 350 book calls. So Gina, if you can play that ad to the right, you can see just the
AI can already do all these amazing things in marketing and design, and I feel like I'm so far behind as it is. Can't eat, I can't sleep. I don't know what to do.
While AI can do some things on its own, you get the best results when you combine it with human creativity. And that's what you get with Superside, the world's best designers using AI as a tool to scale production, explore ideas, and move fast. Click to learn more.
Gina, we can move on to the next slide. Now, the next ad that I'm going to show you is a good example of my final point, which is all about grabbing and holding attention. This ad, it's brand new. We just launched it, I believe, late last week. So I don't have too many stats on it, but I wanted to show it to you because it does illustrate a big change in our direction. And over the last year, we've had a lot of success with the lo-fi sort of TikTok ads that I've been showing you, but we can't limit ourselves to just one style or strategy because eventually like our competitors are going to start doing the same thing, and we need to be ahead of them at all times. And especially as a creative company, we have to keep exploring, and we can't get stale in our own approach. So on this next slide, earlier I talked about the ways that you can bypass that subconscious wiring to grab attention, but here I'm more concerned about keeping that attention and doing something with that attention, whether that be building brand awareness or pitching a service. While I don't have the conversion stats for this one, because again, it is brand new, one stat that we do have from our test campaign was that this ad that you're about to see registered a 49% thumb stop ratio, which means that half of the people who have seen this ad or who have been served this ad have watched at least 3 seconds of it. And that might not sound like much, but when we're advertising on platforms where like you can just skip ads immediately, half the people watching 3 seconds at least is a wild number. Because it shows that people are actually choosing to watch the ad. So while you watch this, I want you to think about that and think about what's happening to hold your attention. Why is it that people are watching this? So Gina, if you could please hit play.
Hey, let's make this quick.
Hey, tell me what you need. You'll be out of here in 2 minutes.
I need to send a message, something that will really grab attention.
Came to the right place.
Wow.
Yes, you can get real creative with this one, but if you want more of a widespread, I recommend this. Digital ads and social media graphics. Superside can design a campaign for Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Just fill out the brief and that's it.
You're sure that Superside can get it done in time? I need it by Friday.
Okay, look. Superside only hires the top designers in the game. They're fast and they use AI. You're not going to get creative that performs like this anywhere else. If you have any questions, you go to this address. Tell them I sent you.
So there's a lot happening in the structure of this ad, and all of it's based around keeping attention. So first, we take no time to set things up. Viewers immediately put into the action. And then from there, the narrative builds intrigue by working towards this sort of reveal, which is then contextualized by our pitch for Superside. So basically, we're making a bet that the setting, the lighting, the music, and the opening line, hey, let's make this quick, will grab attention, building towards the reveal, which will generate interest, and hopefully enough interest that people will then listen to the pitch to get that sense of resolution. So it's like, what is this about? What is this about? Okay, it's about Superside. Well, now I'm invested. What is Superside? And it's all these little things that add up to make an ad that is actually worth watching. And that might seem ridiculous as a concept, like an ad that's worth watching. But if you stop and think about it, like there's people online watching videos of people popping pimples, or they're watching videos of lawns being mowed. A lot of this strategy comes to how we're just wired. And as marketers, you should always be mindful of that wiring. So on the next slide, on that note of lawn mowing videos and pimple popping, holding attention, it doesn't always hinge on creativity. And this final ad is a really good example of that. Believe it or not, this last ad that I'll show you, it's generated over 700 calls, or almost 700 calls. And the first line is literally, "This is an ad." So Gina, if you could just hit play on this last one.
This is an ad for Superside, but don't worry, I'll make it fast. We're not an agency. We're a creative subscription that's basically
a great extension of our team.
We deliver all this to brands like these. The quality is top tier, the speed is unmatched, and the platform where you request projects and communicate with your dedicated project manager and creative lead is as straightforward as it gets. Kind of like this ad, so click to learn more.
So I do see a comment in the chat about what do people learn in 3 seconds if they drop off? I'm going to assume that was for the last ad. And I can answer that question like in juxtaposition with this ad that we just watched. Not every ad is going to be able to do every single thing. So that last ad, if someone drops off within the first 3 seconds, they're not going to learn anything. But everything that we've done in that ad is built around keeping people around for more than 3 seconds. We want to keep people around for half of the ad, or the full ad, ideally, where they get the full narrative, they get the full story, and then they get the full Superside pitch. But we recognize that you can't do that with every single ad. So for the people who are going to drop off really quick, and we need to get in that window as fast as possible, we have ads like this that are extremely straightforward and to the point and deliver that message without anything else. And that's why this ad works, because we're straight up with our audience. We know that they don't want to see another ad, so we make it as quick and direct as possible, without any fluff, without any jargon. We don't trick anybody. We don't manufacture any hype. And as a result, like this sort of tactic almost endears us to our audience. And it shows us that we're on their side by opposing all of the ads that do try these like cheap tricks to get you to buy something. And if you're paying close attention to this ad, you may have caught that the second line in there was, "I'll make this quick," which was essentially the first line of the last ad that we watched. And that's not a coincidence, because this ad performed so well. We thought, okay, what's going on here that's working? And how can we carry that forward to our next ad, which was the parking garage ad that you just saw. So that's just another example of analyzing your wins and using those findings to direct the work that follows. So next slide, please, Gina. So with that, here's a high-level summary of what I've talked about, broken down into actions and considerations that can inform your own approach to video marketing. So number one, no one is looking for your ads. No one has to watch your ads. You need to make something that's worth watching. Your audience, they're not made up of just employees and job titles. They are people and they feel things and they exist outside of the confines of their role. And lastly, this isn't random. You're going to have to try some things and you're going to have to experiment. And it's your wins and losses that should be shaping how you're moving forward. And so these are just 4 of the many things that my team and I think about when we're producing our ads. And as a sort of strategic compass, these considerations have generated all of the comments that you've seen in this presentation, along with all of the calls that I documented. So one more slide. To wrap up, I just want to come full circle and give you all just a little bit of homework. You're a marketer, but you're also a consumer. So you're exposed to between 4,000, 10,000 ads per day. But as we talked about, most of those ads will fail to actually reach your conscious brain. But when one does manage to break through, I want you to stop and think about why. So when you're scrolling on social media and you come across an ad and it makes you pause, take a second to think about what made you pause. What's going on here? What grabbed your attention and where did you lose interest? What are people saying in the comments? What are they doing with this ad that's working and that you could be trying out in your ads? And like on that note, like there are ads failing and succeeding all around you. And you don't need to rely solely on your own ads and your own results and your own experiments to figure out new ideas and what to do. So the last thing I'll ask you to do, disable your ad blocker. Because as a marketer or someone who's involved with video advertising, you should be exposing yourself to as many ads as you can. And each one of those you should be treating as though it's your own test and treat it as an opportunity to learn. And that's it for me. So Gina, if you want to pop back on, we can get to the Q&A. And thanks again to everyone who stuck around despite those technical difficulties. I apologize for that.
I mean, what's a webinar without some technical difficulties? I mean, it comes with the territory. Like you just learn to expect it. But thankfully, Kyle and I had met backstage and we had a contingency plan in place. Just took me a little bit longer to figure out the controls and get access. So other than that, it was great. First and foremost, thank you everybody who dropped some questions. We are going to take the time now to go through those. So if you guys still have questions or want to dive in deeper on a certain topic or pain point or anything, drop those in the Q&A or in the chat, and we're going to go through those. So Kyle, our first question came in from Spencer. He said, how do you reconcile the more casual, informal tone required for personal relatability with restrictive, informal brand identities? Great question.
So I think this would probably factor in sort of to like what I talked about earlier with this idea of like, we are not that brand. I was on LinkedIn yesterday and I believe his name is Tyler Terry at Motion. He's a really good, actually he was part of Rev Genius's Next 50. He's a really great social media manager for Motion. And he put out a post the other day that said like, if you're advertising on social media, but like you're not using memes because it doesn't fit like with your brand, like what are you doing? And I think this question relates to that post in that like that casual tone, like that is the language of a lot of these platforms. Memes are like the language of Instagram, and like music in a lot of ways is like the language of TikTok. And to go back to like that party metaphor, like you need to fit in on these platforms. So I'd say like, while you do want to stay true to your brand, you do need to be willing to flex a little bit or bend a little bit so that you're tailoring yourself to the types of conversations, the types of activities and engagements that are happening on these platforms. Because if honestly, if you're not willing to like kind of bend a little bit to like what's working on Instagram, why are you on Instagram? If you are an extremely like buttoned up brand and you can't unbutton just a little bit to fit these platforms, I'd question, are you going to get anything out of these platforms? And would you be better served advertising in a different way somewhere else?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great answer to that. And I agree, it's understanding the language of the platform that you're using. I think that's super important. It's something that I've never actually sat down and thought about, to be funny enough, but I'm not a marketer. I'm an ops person. So I guess that's where it makes sense.
I do have like a bit of a personal anecdote as well, that I do like some consulting calls with customers sometimes who want to explore like new ways of advertising. And this is always something that comes up, like this idea that like our brand, like we can't flex on it in any way to like fit these platforms. And something that I always bring up is like my aunt, she's very high up in investment banking. And so if you're like a financial company or like fintech or something like that, like she would be part of your audience. And I think a lot of those types of brands, like they're very buttoned up, they're very corporate blue, and they speak in a certain type of way. And they would probably try to advertise to her as though she is who she is in her role all the time. But when I go visit my aunt in the summer, like we talk about like what TV shows she's watching, what movies she's seen, like what books she's reading. Like she is a person behind her career success. And if you really want to like break into that audience and really get her attention, you would talk to her like a person, not like this like corporate drone who doesn't exist outside of that.
Yeah, I think it's just all about building that organic relationship with your audience and really honing in that they are people too, and adding that human element. I think a lot of times we forget that part.
Thanks for the question.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, absolutely. All right, our next question comes in from George. He said, what kind of production value did your examples entail? Are these all shot on iPhone, lighting, editing, etc.?
Yeah, so it's like kind of the full spectrum, because again, like we're running all these different experiments, and like there is a method to the madness in a way. Like as I said at the top of the presentation, like that lo-fi aesthetic, we capture that so that our ads look like native content. And to like stay true to that, like some of these ads we shot without a mic, like without lights and things like that. Like it was shot just pure iPhone, just maybe like one or two people in like a co-working space. So like an ad like that, when we have like a batch of ads that are like that, we've banged off 5 ads in a single day. Like the load is very light. But we also have the other end of the spectrum, like the ad in the parking garage, where we had like 3 different lights set up. We all had mics clipped up. The audio was awful in that ad because there was construction happening next door. And so we actually had to go in and dub every line afterwards. So like that one ad took a couple of days to put together. So yeah, long story short, the level of production, it changes with each ad, but that level of production is part of the strategy as well. Whether you want to do something raw and lo-fi or something that's really highly produced, there's typically a reason for it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It all makes sense. It's all coming together, Kyle. All right. Our next question comes in from Lita. She said, if you've never made a video ad, how do you know where to start style or format wise? How do you judge the performance since there's no previous data to compare it to? Great question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's probably just about like doing multiple ads, trying again and again, and like establishing an average, and then just trying to beat yourself. That's kind of like what we sort of did with our ads. Like I showed that ad, that was the first ad that I was part of at Superside, and that was the approach that we were taking at that time. We had a base level like metric that we were typically getting, but then we just thought like, okay, let's try something new, like with this skit. And like the results were like night and day. Like it was so clearly the right way to go based on that one test, that okay, so we know this skit works. Next ad we do, front load it with a skit, Next 3 ads we do, front load them with skits, extend the skit a little bit each time, watch where the results take us. In terms of like how to get started with video, I'd say like if you have no one on your team who does video, you don't have like cameras or lights or mics or anything like that, start with like the lo-fi native social media looking stuff. Because again, like I assume whoever asked this question has a camera on their phone. You can get started with that.
Awesome. Tyler had a kind of a similar question, but then went a little bit deeper into it. So he said, how do you think about creating ads? What formats? Find the pain points, a day in the life, flip the norm on its head, that jerk from marketing. How do you stumble upon your unused vacation days, for instance? What else and how are they developed?
So this is going to be a long answer and a kind of
We're here
multifaceted
for it.
answer. So first I'll talk about like how our team works. So we have an ads brainstorm meeting every month where it's about like 15 people. We all hop on a call. We all do a little bit of prep work to come up with like a couple ideas each. And we just have like a full, it's supposed to be an hour. It's never an hour. It's usually like an hour and a half where we all present our ideas. We all talk about the ideas. We build each other up. It's almost like a writer's room for like a TV show, I'd imagine. And then by the end of the call, we vote on the ads that we all liked, and whatever ads get the most votes, those are the ones that get put into the pipeline. So that's one way that we go about it. Just by having that many people involved in the brainstorming, it gets us a pretty good mix of perspectives, strategies. We have some people on our team. I'm going to shout out Marcus, who like, he is always the guy to come to the meeting and say like, this is the trending thing on TikTok. Can we turn it into an ad?
Nice.
I'll transition into like, I think Tyler called out the vacation days one. My kind of approach is typically like, whenever something affects me in my day-to-day life, I kind of file that away. I kind of think of it as like hoarding experiences. Whenever something's made me feel like more than like my baseline, or like raise my blood pressure or something like that, I file that away. And I think about every now and then, like, okay, can I use that in an ad? Because again, like if I'm trying to connect with people on like a human level, I need to make them feel something. And a great starting point for that is going back to the things that made me feel something. So that's where, like, again, the vacation days one came from. I was struggling to find time to book vacation. I thought, this probably happens to other people. How can I spin this creatively? And then it came to this idea of like, let's just like market this idea that we're like presenting vacation days to creatives as this like new product.
Yeah, I love it. I love that one because I mean, who hasn't had that issue? You know, it's very human. It's across every single industry. I don't care where you work, what title. You know, when do you find time to disconnect? So I think that really resonated with the human element of things. And again, that's not something that you typically see in ads. Ads are always buy now, get a discount, buy now, get a discount. It's like, I'm not even sure if I'm interested in this, you know? So I like your Superside's approach to these and adding that human element to it. That's relatable. Keyword relatable. People can relate to that on a day-to-day basis. So you guys are definitely killing it. I loved all of these examples, but moving on back to the questions. We had a question come in from Marie. She said, hi, Kyle. I can see that you're in most videos, which is great. Nice show and tell. Are you at the forefront of this content strategy? How do you motivate the other employees to be a part of the Superside content? I can tell you personally, I don't ever want to be a part as far as Rev Genius goes. Like, I am the ops, I am the backstage person. So how do you motivate people like me?
Yeah. Yeah. So like my role in all of this, like I'm coming up with a lot of the concepts and I'm typically like the lead writer for the ads. And then I also manage our video teams. So I'm the one kind of on set, like directing things. So that's my role in it. And just because like I am kind of behind a lot of these, like I have to be the face of them as well, or else like I'm not really, I don't have to be like, how do I put this? I feel obligated to be on camera for these ads because I'm a big part of them behind the scenes. And that's like the biggest struggle for video is just getting people to go on camera. So I have to kind of like fall on my sword and be the guy to go on camera and like set that example. In terms of getting other people to be on camera, we've got a really big marketing team, but you'll see probably like the revolving door of people in ads is only about like 5. So I don't know if I've been successful in getting other people to be involved. But some of the things that we've done to like try to get people involved as much as possible is we make it fun. It's a very low pressure situation. We're always like making each other laugh on set and like cracking jokes. It's the most fun I have at work, and I think other people who are involved in the ads, they'd probably agree. And a lot of the time, it's really just like getting that person who's reluctant to be in ads, getting them like in one ad. Get them in one ad, and suddenly, like when we publish it, they're gonna get people who see it online. They message and say, like, "This is you? Like, are you like an influencer now?" And like, people find it funny. I know there's people on our team who have been like stopped on the street and been like, "I've seen you like in an ad." And like that feeling is like kind of addicting or addictive. And so I think like a lot of the time, just getting past that initial hurdle, people are a bit more willing to be involved after that because they see a lot of like fun and like positive feelings come from it.
That's so incredible. I like that last part of that feeling of being recognized and feeling like you're a part of something and having fun. You may have moved my needle a little bit in the right direction, Kyle. I don't know yet. I'll let you know though. Y'all keep an eye out for me in a Rev Genius ad. We had a next question from Alex. Just wanted to say first, I think your team are really crushing it. I'd love to understand what the creative ideation process looks like in your team.
Yeah, so I guess I kind of like covered that in a previous answer, but like we have our monthly brainstorm. Everyone approaches it differently. As I said, like I file away like the things that happen to me that make me feel something, and I reuse those experiences for ads. I also have a notebook that like I'm constantly just throwing ideas in. My memo pad on my phone is just full of like 1 sentence long ideas. I actually like I had a dream one night where like I dreamt about a Superside ad, and I woke up and in like a sleepy haze, like I kind of wrote it out. In the morning I read it back. I was like, this is awful. It was a terrible idea. But like as a creative, like thinking about this stuff, like you're kind of always on the clock because like you never really know when inspiration is gonna hit. In terms of like finding inspiration, everyone goes about it differently, but me, I'm a big like I'll lay on the floor and just like stare at the ceiling and wait for something to come to me. I'll go for walks. I find like downtime is really important. I think like one of the best ideas I ever had in like my marketing career came to me on a 6-hour drive in BC. I was on vacation.
Oh, wow.
I was on vacation and just like came up with a tagline for a medical device company. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like the greatest accomplishment of my career, and it came out of nowhere on vacation. So you have to just be open to inspiration whenever it hits.
Yeah, that's wild. I find long drives, I do my best thinking. So I'll just drive in circles.
Yeah.
Like I don't even have to go somewhere, just being in the car and just, autopilot. Like I love that. We had another question come in from Nicole. She said, you mentioned your team's process for coming up with ad ideas, voting on them, and then adding them to your team's pipeline. How many concepts do you have in your pipeline usually?
Too many. Our pipeline, like I'd say probably every ads meeting will come out of it with like 7 or 8 ad ideas.
Okay.
And maybe like every month, like 2 of those through the month end up getting scrapped because like I just can't make something happen with it on like a script level or like a storyboarding level. But then quite often like 2 ad ideas will pop up like mid-month and we'll just throw them in the pipeline. So Yeah, I'd say like anywhere between 5 to like 9 ads are constantly in our pipeline for like the kickoff phase. On top of that, there's always like, I think right now we have like 4 ads that are in like the editing stage, 3 that are in like the animation stage. Like, yeah.
That's awesome. And it kind of segues into our next question from Allie. She said, how often is Superside putting out ads? How long do they run for? And do these numbers differ from other non-video ads?
Okay, so it's I guess this is maybe a good question for bringing up a stat that I believe like our team came up with. We have this stat, it's called NAS, which is an acronym that stands for, well, I wrote it down, new ad spend share. And what that is essentially when we're putting our ads out on like a Facebook, for example, the algorithm will kind of like decide what the best ad is based on performance, and it'll give the most of those impression shares to the ads that are performing best. So that in itself is almost like a survival of the fittest, in that like when an ad stops performing, we take it out of the rotation. But if an ad's continuously performing well, it stays in the rotation. So that would dictate how long we run an ad for. Like, I think like we have some ads that have been running for like 9 months, I think, whereas we might have one ad that runs for just a month because it doesn't do well in the campaign. And each month, this like NAS sort of stat, we look at it as a way of figuring out how our new ads are performing against our old ads. So the higher the NAS score, the better our new ads are performing against our old ads. And the better that goes, the more our new ads are kind of pushing our old ads out of the campaign, where they then go to die, or we'll reshoot them with someone else on camera with like new editing, slightly new scripting, and we'll see if we can like breathe new life into that creative.
That's really cool. I didn't even know.
Can you repeat the question one more time? Because I feel like that was part of it, but I feel like there's maybe more that I could add.
Yeah, I had marked it as read, so give me 2 seconds. Let me find it again. She said, how long do they run for? And do these numbers differ from other non-video ads?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So again, the length of the ad is kind of dictated by how well it does in the campaign against everything else. And then how that relates to like static, like image ads, or just like straight animated ads. Like we all kind of approach them the same way. Our video ads typically perform better than our static ads and our motion ads. So they usually have the longer lifespan.
Okay. Good to know. We did have another question come in. Apologize if I do not pronounce your first name correctly. Solomon. They ask, what does your video creation pipeline look like? How many people and what do they do?
So the video team is myself and 3 other people. So I'm in charge of kind of like managing the team, concepts, writing, storyboarding, things like that. And then we have a video producer who is the guy setting up all the shots, recording, editing. And then we have 2 animators, and they're in charge of like the animated CTAs. And any other like animations that happen within the ad. So we have a lot of ads where like a laptop screen might be shown. When we shoot that, we just have that greened out. And then our motion guys are coming in and putting something on that screen. We've been playing around with like green screen ads lately, where our motion guys get put to work and like they create like the backdrops and things like that for the ads. So yeah, it's a skeleton
really cool.
crew, but then we get other people on camera that are, as I mentioned, like different parts of the marketing team as well.
Right. That's so cool. And to think that I literally thought you guys were just playing that video on your laptop and you guys are green screening it. Like I am your target audience member that's like, that's so cool. And it's like, yeah, it's a green screen. And then we just add it on later. Like, I am your average consumer that is easily fooled by video ads, like the little kiosk at the end of the checkout lines. I'm that person that they target. Like, yes, I have 18 pairs of $5 earbuds, but I always need another pair. Like,
And then
so I'm definitely that person.
On top of that, like everyone on the video team, like our job isn't restricted to ads. We also do like other things as well. So ads, I would say take up like maybe 40% of my time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting to know. Well, Kyle, that brings us, oh, I'm sorry. I spoke too soon. Cassie has a question. How do you apply the concept of blending in and creating organic type video ads like you've done for Instagram, TikTok, the platforms, for platforms like LinkedIn? Great question.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think like there's a bit of a I think LinkedIn's a little misunderstood. Because it is like the career social network. It kind of goes back to that first question, this idea of like you have to talk a certain way, you have to be more buttoned up.
Right.
I think you're seeing more and more the types of stuff that perform on Instagram are performing well on LinkedIn, and sometimes even better on LinkedIn because it's so refreshing to see a meme, say, on LinkedIn when you're going through a feed of just corporate I don't want to say garbage, but I'll say garbage.
I'll say it, garbage. I'll say it for you, Kyle.
Yeah. So, just looking at the question again, because I see it's the last one in the chat there. Yeah, I would just say like treat LinkedIn like it's any other platform with people on it, and think about what people want to see. Don't get sucked into this idea that your LinkedIn content has to be different because it's a career network. And then on top of that, I'd say like just have that objective of being experimental and trying different things. So like maybe you try something that's very TikTok-y and it does terrible. Maybe scale that back. Maybe make it a little bit more professional. Try something else. See how that goes. And again, follow the data.
Absolutely. Nicole had just posted a question in the Q&A. How many campaigns do you all run at any given time? And what are all the types you might include in one campaign? Types of ad.
That would be more of a question for someone else on my team, but I can go off of what my perception is. I know that all times we are running a top of funnel campaign and a bottom funnel campaign. And within each of those campaigns, I'd say there's probably anywhere between like 5 to 10 different ads running. And then I think for the top funnel campaign, they would consist of ads that are for like events. So Superside has a monthly kind of webinar called Gather and Grow. So ads for Gather and Grow would be part of that campaign. We also have a ton of gated, they actually might be ungated now, but we have a ton of like how-to guides and things like that on our website that we promote through ads. Those are constantly running. And yeah, then it's like a good mix of static ads, animated ads, some really short ones, some really long ones, some very lo-fi, some very highly produced. Yeah, again, like the content that's within those campaigns is dictated by the NAS, which ones are performing, which ones aren't.
Awesome. Great stuff. Well, Kyle, that does bring us right to the end of our webinar. So want to definitely thank you for joining us and providing all of this amazing content today. Thank you to all of our audience members who took time out of their day to join us and watch. There will be a recap that will be emailed to everybody who registered and attended. It should be out within about 24 hours or so. So keep an eye out in your inboxes for that. And if you want to recommend the video to somebody who you think should watch, have them head over to revgenius.com/events, find Superside, and they can register and receive a download of that. So with that being said, Kyle, thank you so much. This has been so informative, and I can say that because I'm not a marketer, so all of this is brand new. So I'm so happy that I learned so much as I did today. And thanks everybody for bearing with us with our technical difficulties. It always makes it fun and interesting.
If I could just add one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
If anyone has questions that I didn't get to, feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. Also beyond that, like I've done like webinars in the past. People add me afterwards and like they'll send me a message, and I'm really like open to hopping on calls with people to like talk about your ad strategy and like throw around ideas. There's few things that I love more than talking about like creative campaigns. Last weekend I got together with a friend and we spent like 2 hours talking about like what he could be doing on social media for his insulation company. I love this stuff. So if anyone wants to talk about that sort of thing, I'm always open to it. So just hit me up on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I just dropped your LinkedIn URL in the chat there for anybody who wants to grab it. Feel free to connect with me. If you can't find Kyle, I will get you in touch with him. But thank you so much, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your afternoon and be on the lookout for the recap.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Kyle. Bye.